like to bring this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. The first on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance, if we will. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Erica, could you do the roll call?
Al Shelton? Here. Drew Keyfaber?
Here.
George Hilton Jr.?
Yeah.
Jim Bergeron?
Here.
Bruce Spector?
Here. Fred Pearson has been excused tonight. Open it up to public comment, if there's any.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm here. I'm Joan Diorio. I'm with Newmarket Girl Scouts, and Mr. Bergeron asked me to come to this meeting to talk to the Conservation Commission about what Girl Scouts could do as service projects to sort of pay back the town for being able to use Town Hall for meetings and for our Court of Awards. He had said something to me about possibly a group helping with cleaning up Shanda Park a little bit, which is a possibility. The other thing is, I was talking with Fred Pearson because he's a neighbor of mine, and he told me that he is the person who is sort of in charge of maintaining Heron Point. And that's a place that I go to relatively frequently with my dog. And I've noticed over this past summer that it's starting to get a bit overgrown, not just in the first part where you drive in. He had said that the rose bushes were getting overgrown, and I see that they've been trimmed back, but I'm talking about actually walking on the trails. It's not bad everywhere, but there are some places where you have to go like this to get through there, you know.
Bad.
And as somebody who does a fair amount of hiking in Newmarket, I mean, I can put up with it because I know where the trail is and everything, but if you are trying to get people to use the trail and everything, it might be good if it were trimmed back. And that's something that perhaps we could get almost every troop out there to do a blitz, you know, and just get anywhere along the trail that needs trimming, cleaning up. Even little girls could hold a snipper or something, or they could rake or whatever. I mean, I think, and we had a leaders meeting last night. This was something that they were open to doing, something like that in the spring and in the fall, to do, you know,
Is it something you think you could get together in the next few weeks to do, or you want to plan it for the spring, or?
I don't know. I would have to go back and talk with them, because we have some troops that actually haven't started yet.
Okay.
And so, but it's possible maybe we could do something.
No, I just asked that because
So
I'm
either,
trying to
you
figure
know,
out
if
what you wanted, when you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. I would have to check with them on when they would have time. I'm thinking that if we were going to do it this fall, it might have to be in October, like maybe the 24th or something like that. I believe that's a Saturday. Because you don't want to do it the next week, that's Halloween, and, you know, I mean, granted, we do trick or treat on the 30th, but
Right.
it's kind of a busy weekend.
Val, you had a question?
Well, I just thought maybe the girl, that's a great idea, number one, and maybe the Girl Scouts would think about just partnering up with the Conservation Commission, and you would basically be adopting Heron Park. That way there really was a project, there was an
An ongoing
ongoing project between the commission and the Girl Scouts. You know, maybe if you just notified us when you were going to do like major cleanup days and if any of us can be down there. Or just as, you know, maybe one troop wants to go out and just pick up trash. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a fall, spring project. It would just really be kind of a, you know, a little partnership. Similar to like the Boy Scouts have done out at Wigan Farm.
Well, we could have it so that if somebody wanted to do something, you know, when we're not doing a mass cleanup, that they could do that. I don't know how many of them will want to, but I know I had a brownie troop that did go to Heron Point for Earth Day last year, and, you know, so, I mean, it's something we can think about.
Do you have any of this, do you have any like senior scout?
We do have girls who are what they would call senior Girl Scouts. They would be girls from 9th to 10th grade. They actually have an older level now, too, that they just started this year called Ambassadors, which is 11 and 12. And we do have a senior ambassador troop. So.
Do any of the girls have to work on some type of like a conservation badge?
They don't have to.
Or is that
If
an option?
if it's something that they're interested in, yes, they would work on it. But I don't know the details of something right off the bat.
And I just raised that question because the Nature Conservancy, right there on Bay Road, they do have tools and resources available for invasive species removal. And, you know, I mean, that might be an idea.
Is that something that would need to be done at Heron Point also?
Well, I don't know, and that's why I asked if there was a, you know, particular badge, because it would involve the, you know,
I would have to
the
look into
person
that. I don't
really
really know.
investigating if there are any at Heron Point, and then a plan to remove them.
I would imagine that there probably are, because they're everywhere. But but you know, and I was just there the other day, and like you're talking about the autumn olive and bittersweet and the rose that with the tiny hips and everything.
But we do have that resource in town, and they do have the specialized tools and methodology, as well as, you know, someone that would work with them.
Well, that's something that I would have to get back to my leaders about and see whether they'd be
You know,
interested.
we've partnered with the Boy Scouts on the Wigan Farm last year, and we had a really good day of it. They, pretty much the same idea, thinned out some invasive species. The trail is pretty much opened up anyway, but I can see
That's a great idea.
a great idea is get the younger kids interested in the park and the conservation.
Do you have somebody who could come, like, whenever we do decide to actually do it? Like, if we wanted them not to just clean up, but learn about invasive species and maybe get rid of some things, would there be somebody who could come and talk about that? That, you know,
Would
whenever.
Ellen be available for something like that?
I think Ellen, you know,
Ellen Schneider,
I'm sure that she would. But Joan, I think her name is Joan Glode from,
Oh,
Joanne
from-
Glode from Nature
from Nature
Conservancy is
Conservancy.
available to do such things.
I know her. I could
Okay.
probably connect with her.
We've been getting a lot of interest in community service. It's a good thing, but there's been a lot of calls for it lately, and I think we need to kind of come up with a plan for these requests, because we've got so many different little properties that need maintenance, and we just need to get a plan together to get it
Sure.
going. And I don't know if it's going to be an adopted spot type thing where you know, you're permanently, you know, given an area to maintain, or if we just kind of use the shotgun approach and you know, go to an area that needs it in particular.
I like the adopt-a-spot idea.
Haven't we already started that? Link Together's doing too?
Links together is...
Well, we haven't really made it an official decree for linked together, though that's not something we were going to discuss later with the what they just recently did. But I wouldn't be opposed to, you know, just saying, hey, Girl Scouts, you do Heron Point, Boy Scouts, you do this,
Yep.
and that way, you know, everything's covered. We certainly can use the help.
Then, the leadership can plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I
You
know
seem
it
to have
could
a
be an
preference
ongoing
for Heron
project.
Point. I don't see a problem
I
with
think it's a
that.
great.
Well, the thing is that it's close to the downtown, and it's something that, perhaps, if more girls and parents knew about it, more people would use it, and if you have more people using it, maybe you might cut down on the vandalism
Yeah,
problem a little bit,
absolutely.
too.
Make it more
We
accessible.
found that just opening it up, cleaning
So
up, opening it.
would the commission be willing to just decree that the Girl Scouts do Heron Point? Or do you need to do more on your end
Oh, wait a
before
minute.
we can make that?
So would we have
Does
to,
the-
coordinate with Fred about that, or?
Well,
I think Fred,
Because he's the one
Good to have
who,
a
he
go-to
said he
person
was
on
the
the
one.
I think
and he is for Heron Point. We talked about that in a
he
prior
pretty
meeting.
much is the
It's
Heron
already
Point
his area, right?
Right.
overseer, he kind of adopted that spot as, he is, and that's fine. I think that's great. And we can use, I'll volunteer Fred because he didn't show up tonight.
This year.
Just like I got to be the treasurer because I wasn't here one night.
You snooze, you lose.
I know how that
I'll
works.
volunteer Fred to be the go-to person in case you have questions.
Yeah,
And he's got,
we're neighbors,
good
so.
knowledge of that area and the plants, species in that area. And since he's not here, we will make him the go-to person for
I
you.
wonder if he's watching.
I don't, do we as a commission want to do would it be a resolution or something to say we're partnering with the Girl Scouts to give them, adopt a spot to care for? Or
certainly
do we
willing to-
just make a statement to that? And
Statement to that effect, an
I think it's
agreement?
reported in the minutes. I mean, we haven't heard any negative or, objections from any of the
A
commission
verbal
members.
agreement would be fine.
verbal, and
Yeah.
I think that makes it pretty easy.
We know where you live.
Drew, do you
Next
have any
to Fred.
questions?
No, I mean, the only thing I would say is we would graciously welcome any public service that the Girl Scouts would be willing to offer. And if Heron Point works out as a great spot, then great. If a different spot were to be decided to be better, that'd be fine too. You
It's
know.
just that I think it's big enough that we could put everybody who might come to use, and there's different things that they could do.
Sure.
So, and plus, I like the fact that it's relatively close to the downtown,
Mhm.
so.
George?
Congratulations, you've adopted a
Us.
park.
George, you have anything? Joan, could you leave phone number, name and address with Erica, and
Okay,
just so we have contact,
okay.
and
And it'd be good to keep Fred informed when projects are going on there, just from the perspective that he can report back to the commission.
yeah, so that we know
definitely.
when,
That'd be great.
if you're going to do something because on a Saturday,
Or if you have done something.
so that we know, and that way if someone asks for use of the park, that we don't have overlaps and that type
Not to mention, we'll probably be available to you if you need
of, to help.
Extra help.
extra help, like chainsaw or a truck or something, we can help you out with that.
There was one spot, when you're walking on the trail along the water, as you first go in, at where you have the wooden walkway, but then you diverge up onto the dirt path.
Yes.
There's a few places where there are large trees very close to the trail that are fallen down, that
Okay,
would
so we
require
need a little bit more power,
require a
manpower.
bigger person to take care of it
Okay.
than somebody with some tools, so. But most of it could be done with clippers or loppers or that sort of thing.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Before you leave, should someone make a motion to partner with the Girl Scouts? To have them care for Heron Point? Or do we need just what we have already?
I think we have it recorded in the minutes.
All right,
that-
great.
that's-
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
the
thank
Girl
you.
Scouts for us. I was going to bring up Jeffrey at, great. do it now?
Sure.
Is that okay with everybody? Move it up? Jeffrey, would you like to just come up and state your name and kind of just quick overview of what we have here in front of us?
Sure. My name's Jeff Goldnoff, and I live on Ash Swamp Road, and just interested in becoming part of the Conservation Commission. I use conservation areas in town a bit, mostly Wigan Farm. Use that quite a bit. Just looking to see if I can help out a bit and offer some services to the town.
Well, we are all volunteers here, so I mean, I would value any input. I think the rest of us would. What we will do, and it's just the paperwork type of thing, we write a letter to the town council endorsing your application, and they will work on it they'll take a vote on it next meeting, which is the 21st.
Yes.
And it's pretty much a given.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I will appreciate all the help we can get. And
Okay.
thank you for
Yes, sir.
volunteering.
Okay.
Indeed.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you.
You know when the meetings are?
Yes. First,
Second
second
Second.
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Thursday
7.
of the month. And right here, 7 o'clock. Sometimes we get pushed around, put downstairs, depending on if the room is used, but, pretty much right here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I need to write a letter to the town council. Okay. Next item, approval of minutes. August 13th. The last meeting, we really just had a meeting. It wasn't I didn't dare vote on anything because of the few people that showed up. So let's start with the August 13th minutes, if have a approval of that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 13th, 2009 Conservation Commission meeting minutes.
Anyone second?
Sure, I'll second.
Any corrections?
Yes, page 4, line 3. That should state construction work being done by the town, not Heritage Festival. And have been assured the construction, going to page 4, line 4, would be completed in time for the Heritage Festival. On page 5, line 16, just correct the spelling of Shepherd, German Shepherd. And on line 27, it should read, he noted the decking needs pressure washing in preparation, not the park.
Okay. What did you have on the line 4 besides the town? Instead of the festival, what line
Well,
was it after
delete
that?
Heritage Festival and put town, and then on line 4, in time for the Heritage Festival, because you're taking out of the paragraph.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All in favor of accepting these?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving right along to September 10th. Again, it was a shortened meeting because of a few people that were here.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for the September 10th, 2009 meeting.
Let's see, who else was here?
I'll second it.
George? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Abstain?
Okay. Are there any, I guess there weren't any corrections.
And I abstain.
Yeah, we marked it. I marked it, town jam. Okay. I had hoped to have someone here from the Riverwalk and Main Street to fill us in on the cost that we said we'd help to defer with the park work, but that didn't happen.
Have we received any requests for reimbursements?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
So when that happens,
Yeah,
we'll
put
bring
it
it
on the
up.
agenda when we get that.
When we get it, we'll put that on the agenda, so I think takes care of that. We're gonna go right to the treasury report.
Excellent.
And
Well, hopefully you have the most recent one in front of you. As you can see, there's a few new ones on expenditures. Voss sign, of course, was the trail markers for Loisel. They're ready to be deployed. Jeff Fay, I'm not quite sure. Is that to do with the boat?
that was the rental of the pontoon boat.
Okay, yeah, okay. And $1,400 for Fences Unlimited is half the amount for the fencing at the Loisel property. They need 50% down to schedule the installation, which should be happening in just a couple weeks. As you can see, not much else has changed for our accounts. I do have one question. In our August 13th meeting, we had discussed the creating a $100,000 property
Yeah,
maintenance
I
fund.
thought we'd bring that up.
Oh, I have that on mine.
You want to just do that later?
Okay,
Well,
what were
I
the
think
other, what were the other expenditures?
For instance,
Like Stratum Circle Nursery, was that something at the Shanda Park? You know, was that in the wrong?
those are older ones.
Those are much older.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
so
no
is this a
dates on
year-to-date?
those.
This is a year-to-date.
This is a
okay.
That's probably the
year-to-date.
tree that's already dead.
No, the tree's not dead.
It's
It's
stressed.
stressed.
Okay.
So
Okay.
is he, is he just gonna continue year-to-dates with no dates, or?
Well, it says, as you see, balance 7108 to 83109. It's quite a span there. You want it modified once again to just have the most
No, it's just a
recent-
question, because he doesn't have any dates on the expenditures, so.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. You want expenditures, dates?
No, I mean,
You can-
I'm
you can
fine,
probably
I'm
do
fine if,
that.
no, I'm fine, because your report, these were really the only three expenditures
That's
since.
correct. The last
Since,
three.
September, or
Right.
since August.
Last four,
Okay.
Yeah, that's
New England Barricade, okay.
that was the sign at,
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, the one on the road?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's more in line what we were all hoping for.
Good.
Very simple,
Simple, straightforward, and
you know, starting balance and end balance, interest, revenues. And does anybody else have
the
any?
lost sign.
that's the trail markers for Loisel.
Oh,
The little plaque mount.
Yeah.
okay.
So reflective aluminum markers for when we do the
Mhm.
trail there, we need to nail those up.
So is the markers, the boat, fence,
Half the
sign
fence.
for Loisel property.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. While we're on that, do we want to bring up?
Yeah,
that's, I printed out that letter that you had.
so Dawn, I spoke to Dawn a few days ago, and then forwarded him, the motion that we had approved in the August meeting. And then Dawn forwarded that to the Department of Revenue Administration to determine, whether or not that the commission could have this separate account, this endowment account set up. Everything that I guess the municipality does relative to accounting has to go, or bookkeeping has to go through the Department of Revenue Administration.
Okay.
So once he hears back from them, then we'll know whether or not we can proceed with a specific resolution and setting that up. And his recommendation was to ensure that, basically, that we as a commission would be approving any expenditures out of that fund, at a meeting, through a motion, and then submitting that, the result
Does that have to be written in
him.
the,
Not a resolution, just that he has a written notification of that
Oh, yeah.
motion that was made.
just like any money we
And then,
spend?
but more importantly, if, for the funds to transfer from one account to the other account, that the motion is actually made to bring half of any revenues received
Do we have to do that monthly?
to.
I mean, when there's a...
If there's a shortfall
If
in
there's a
the, in the
shortfall.
endowment account, which is what the motion was.
Okay.
So that he has that basically tracked, and that we are actually approving movement of funds from one account to another, just as we do payment of receipt, invoices that come in. And then, the only question that I would have is, we talked about, me drafting a draft resolution. I think, does Ed just send those to the town legal counsel?
Typically,
draft?
yes, just as.
So I think maybe that's what we should do once Dawn hears back from the DRA.
Don't want to do anything illegal, right? Or spell it out wrong?
Yeah, so hopefully, we
Okay.
can proceed, and we would be able to, I'll follow up with Dawn, and we can, get that done for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Put that together. Committee reports, do we, planning board?
Well, Water Resource Chapter was adopted at the September meeting. I think everyone here does have a copy of it. There were minor amendments that were made to the final. Just some administrative cleanup, and also a rewriting of the section relative to the project that went before the voters to do the Lamprey River recharge of the sand pits, the aquifer. So that section was changed to reflect that, work had been done on that, but that the town voted, didn't approve to move forward at that time. The mill, downtown mill, is before the planning board on Tuesday. TRC, we've had our final meetings with the applicant and the engineers. TRC will be meeting again for a final review of the plans and recommendation to the planning board for next Tuesday evening. And one of the TRC strong recommendations would be that relative to work that would have to be completed within the first 12 months would be the installation of the stormwater management devices and implementation of that section of the application. And then other things of note relative to the Conservation Commission, because we have received the shoreline exemption from the state, so that they're not,
That was
subject to the, yes, that was received.
Okay.
That we incorporated in the specific language from the Comprehensive Shoreline Protection Act relative to use of fertilizers and pesticides, within the shoreline zone. We had them include that right within the management and use of the property, so that that section at least was accounted for. And then on the landscaping plans for the waterfront, between like the mill building and the river, would be to use like native plantings, native grasses. And with the waterfront park that is being proposed, which would be similar to the one behind Joyce's Kitchen, that there would be no grasses in there. It would just really be all plantings in the walkway and sitting area. So really trying to do low-impact recommendations. The applicant has been agreeable to that.
Is there in place any hazardous waste abatements in that mill building that needs to be done before they can start?
Well, that would all go through the building office. They would have to do that prior to getting their, well, as part of their building permits. That's not something that falls under the plan.
Okay. True, okay, that's with the building inspector. Okay, great.
And then the final item, well, any questions on that? Any further? Final item that's coming before the planning board is the renewal of the, I would say the license for the Rosa pit for excavation. And so that will be on our November agenda. Diane Hardy called me today, and she does have a copy of the plan that unfortunately she wasn't able to get to Bruce for this meeting, with the request, you know, Conservation Commission comments. That's part of our regulation. She would really like the Conservation Commission to be able to review that prior to the November meeting.
Okay.
So I didn't know if we wanted that to be circulated, or
I
if
think
we...
it should. Did she email it to? Because it wasn't on our
No,
email
she
list.
called me around 5:30 tonight and said that she had that copy for
Oh.
you and her request for review, but she wasn't in the office because I asked her to bring, just move it
Okay.
here. She wasn't here.
Of course, I can't stop there tomorrow because they're not open. But Monday I'll stop,
Okay.
and I'll review it, and we'll do what we did before, you know, I'll call George, he can call Jim, and hopscotch it back to each other and then try to get it back to me. And if you want to, I will. What I will do is I'll put a comment page on the front. If you have something, just make a note or call me, and I will get those to Diane.
Great.
Sound like a plan? I mean, the pit's been going on in operation for quite a few years, I believe. It may be wise that we take a walk down through there too, if that need be, before the meeting. But let's get that done first. And we'll try to get it done in that first week so that we have time to plan for the meeting too. Okay. Let me just make a note of that, okay?
And I'll let Diane know that we'll be in on Monday or early next week.
Yeah.
Then you'll coordinate a site walk.
I think it'd be wise if we did a sidewalk. And I've been on a commission going on 8 years, and I can't remember doing a site walk for the pits in the past, but I think it's probably time we do it just to make sure that they're in line. They always have been, but I think we should, you know, cover ourselves that way, and I think it'd be the right thing to do,
It is right in the regulation,
so.
you know, for Conservation Commission.
I will set that up, and I'll, on a sign-off paperwork, we can have on a comment page, days for the site walk, and just put an X if one day is better than another for you. How's that sound?
How often does that come up?
It's not every year.
5 years?
No, I think it's I don't know the exact, but I think it's a 5-year renewal. I know that they're the only pit in town subject to the town zoning ordinance, because the other ones are grandfathered under the RSA.
Right.
Okay. Town council?
We're just finalizing the Macintosh agreement for the well that we're going to be doing water testing that on their property. And I think you were at the meeting last night, Bruce, when you were asking about the...
We thought it'd be wise to, I know they do the
Piezometer.
which record the takedown level of the water in the area. And I had mentioned to the town council that I didn't mention how close those meters were, but if I remember right from the plans that I saw a few months back, that they're all within 100 yards of the well, 300, 400 feet. And that's nice for that area, but there's a lot of homes. And, you stretch that circle out, and you're looking at probably 60, 75 homes that are all on wells. And there's probably 50 or 60 different veins of water that those 75 homes are on. I just thought that there should be something in place that if someone well gets drawn down or happens to go bad because of the town drawing down the water.
Will there be a long duration 7-day pump test coming up?
Right, where the water is pumped for 24 hours a day, 7 days in a row.
To determine whether it does truly draw down. I mean, obviously, if it's drawing down the water in the area, it's not that great a well. I guess we'll have to play it by ear on what that the test results are, but
Yeah.
there's no specific action plan in place right now for if we impact somebody else's property, but that will have to be obviously taken on a case-by-case basis. I don't think we can make a determination yet until we see what that pump-down test yields for results.
Well, does this all go through the DES Water Bureau?
Yes.
So aren't there specific regulations
Well, that's all part of the piezometer testing. That's all part of that.
So did we ask for any waivers to not to insert these wells somewhere else, or is this where the town is conducting the testing relative to the regulations?
That's where the town
Okay.
is conducting the
They
testing.
haven't asked for any
according-
waivers?
No.
No, I think that everything's being done the way the plan is.
Yes, to get the permit.
And, just because, I said something because I live very close to that, and, but, like I said, there's another 50 to 75 homes in the area that live closer than I do.
Mhm. Well, as just to point out also, this is only one of many, of different wells that we have that, we are going to be cycling all the wells, and we're not certainly going to just turn one specific well on and draw it down. We're going to be going between all the wells that we have just to give us more for volume and more options, and it'll increase the longevity of the wells that we do have. So, we don't intend to just make this the well for Newmarket. That would be short-sighted. So that helps not draw down the area as well.
Sounds like a plan.
Town council's been getting a lot of requests also for community service, and we've obviously thought of Shanda Park and some of the downtown areas for these types of projects. Shanda Park was brought up as well, the plantings there, and recently Drew and I helped the Linked Together program work on the Piscassic River Park, and they did a fantastic job of removing brush and repairing the fence and opening it up a little bit, because it was just like the Heron Point. It's getting grown in and needed some attention. So I think these community service projects are a great thing for us, but we need to be able to manage them. And as like the council's been asked by Ms. Diorio and others, so I think we should be working in partnership with the Conservation Commission to find places where these people can do their projects. I know Conservation Commission in particular has a lot of land that needs maintenance, and I think the council would be willing to send them our way to do most of those projects. So.
I was going to bring that up. my report, I have received requests from a fellow. I'm not I don't know who sent them our way.
Well, the schools are doing it now. Linked Together is very interested in doing this as a permanent part of their way of teaching the kids community involvement. And, by doing these community service projects, they also get grants and monies for doing it.
Well, I think
Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, and others.
I like the idea that maybe we should even draw up a little proclamation thing that we can sign and say, Boy Scouts, thank you for your help on Wigan Farm.
Not only that, but I think a list of tasks that can be done. Instead of, trying to think of something for them to do when they come before us, we actually had something that was, we need this done at this part. Invasive species, for one, is a big thing. We need to, I'm sure we're charged with keeping up with that on our properties.
Other thing I could do is roadside cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Drastically needed.
Mhm.
Well, how about if we do that for the next meeting, come up with a list of projects that you would like to see done?
Well, just like our little parks, like the River Bend and the Piscasset.
Riverbend, the
they
little
need-
parks that.
Maybe every year, every
Kind
6
of-
months, somebody needs to go out and just kind of give them a once-over, clean them up. Obviously Shanda, Heron Point, I'm sure there's others, Wigan.
But I think, Wynn's comment is very much to the point. I think the only roadside cleanup that I'm aware of is the Rotary, the group that does from, like the old town sheds on 152, and they go over to the, I think all the way down to the Lamprey River.
The
That's about
SAL
twice a
does from the body shop on 108 up
Is-
to the town line.
Okay.
I'm not aware of it, but is there a plan in place? Not a plan, but has there ever been anything for adopting an area? A lot of communities do it, or a business will take over a particular road or area.
I haven't seen any in town.
Who
Haven't
would even
seen
manage
sign-
something like that, but.
Look, maybe that's where we should, maybe it should be up to us to initiate that.
Like, I think what I would like to see is Wynn's comment brought back through Jim to the town council. I mean, they're not, the roadsides aren't under the purview of the Conservation Commission, but I think it's, certainly an area that requires some volunteerism on an ongoing basis.
The only thing I can think of with that is when you're dealing with kids.
You don't want them on a roadside.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of parents would be comfortable with their kids cleaning up alongside of a road. You've got, who knows what you'd find. That's more of an adult task, I think, just because of the traffic and dangers.
Well, depending on the troop or the
The age of
group
the-
that wants to
yeah.
do it. If it's older, be it the Rotary, Service Club, Business Association, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with, somebody volunteering to help the community as far as cleanup and beautification, so
Yeah.
I don't know where to start with something like that, but
Well, how about if we come up with a list of things? that
yeah, I guess we can
think,
start somewhere, sure.
For the next meeting, bring that together. And then, when someone asks us, hey, we'd like to do a project for the town, have something, say, hey, we have it right here. We don't have to come back here. I can read off the list and say, what do you want to do? Check it off.
It'd also be nice if we could have a schedule for things like, so they don't fall through the cracks, like, well, honestly, that park we did over at, both the Riverbend and the Piscasset hadn't been touched in probably several years. Other than people making their way through it, the brush had grown in and trees had fallen across the trails, stuff like that. And I don't think they need to get like that before we can go out there. And
It'd be good if
work
they
on it.
didn't get to that point before we did
Exactly,
something.
yeah.
You're right.
That's why I almost prefer to have an adopt-a spot where somebody's permanently attached to an area, because they'll be doing it.
A couple meetings ago, we had talked about assigning a commission member to each of our areas that we're in charge of.
Sort of the go-to person, like we volunteered for.
Mhm.
that's a good idea.
That's
If
right.
each member takes a spot, you know, be it Wigan Farm, myself, Passaic Street.
I guess we can work on that next time. Kind of an all-inclusive.
Well, I think if let's do that for our next meeting as a major thing. Bring the list, and at that time, we'll say, you know, if you want to do Passaic Street, the one next to you in Trotter Park, they're close.
Mm.
Can you email out the list to all the members before the next meeting?
I'll do
Email a
that.
list
You'll
of
do
what?
that? Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just looking
From the
at it.
brochure?
Yeah, I think this is from a brochure that we already have, so
Right.
I'll scan this and send it out to everybody. That way everybody gets a chance to look it over ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you, Drew. Okay. We'll move on. Chairman report, that's for me. Okay, new appointments, we already did that. With Jeffrey, that's great. Ron Klahasik?
Klamarzik.
Klamasik. Here we go. I don't know if everybody got a copy of this off the email, did you?
I think I sent it to everyone.
Okay, thank
I
you.
intended to send it to
You did.
everyone.
You did.
I got mine. Went through it. It looks like the Wigan Farm would be a really tough area to do any kind of cutting or management other than what's already in place. That's the impression I got.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was his summary.
Sounds like we're doing what we can do. Other than the off time when conditions are perfect.
Said something about the hemlock groves. What exactly did he mean by that? To promote wildlife?
I saw that.
It might be on the second page.
Yeah, on the first page, the last paragraph.
Oh, okay.
There are a few things that could be done to improve habitat in the forest, such as releasing the hemlock thickets. But unless it's done on a volunteer basis, it would be at a cost to the Conservation Commission. I wasn't sure what releasing the hemlock thickets.
Are they locked up somehow, and we just need to release them?
I don't know, I didn't quite
Is that a
understand
small grove of hemlocks that just needs to be thinned out?
I'm
I
not
guess we
sure.
could ask him that, I mean, if
We
there's
can
any
call him up.
action.
Maybe I should call him and ask him to, just to extend.
Don't we have a specific management plan for Wigan that was developed?
Yes, and I think we had perused it a while back, and then basically it did say
Downstairs.
there was some timber that was available for harvesting, but obviously it sounds like it's too wet to get to.
Well, that's
Right.
kind of what it
Add
sounds
to
like
it.
here, that.
I don't agree. If, I feel that report is like, I don't want to do it in, this is what,
His opinion was.
I think if you put somebody else in there and looked at it, I think you'd get a different report. But,
In other words, get a second
Well, he
opinion?
talks about horse logging, I mean, Barden does that, doesn't he?
any piece of woods, any given piece of woods has a water problem, one way or the other, has swamps and so forth. That's not a big deal to modern-day logging. I mean, that is not a big deal. And they don't touch it until the ground's frozen, you know? And there's a lot of pine on that piece of land that could be cut, could be harvested. It wouldn't be too bright to do it now because the price is way down.
Right.
But in the future, it's gonna be up, and it's good forest management. Take out the mature stuff. And it's certainly, I mean, it's not a big deal.
There's a local horse logger?
In Stratford, I'm not sure, does he still do that? Barden, I believe, is the name.
Yeah, I think there are a couple.
Is that done mainly in the wintertime?
Well, I think in the case of this place, And, you know, on this piece of property, I think it'd be wise to do that, just to make sure that the ground is froze up and solid as it can be, so it doesn't,
I mean,
you don't want to create a bunch of ruts and that type of thing, so you want it
Well, we
as.
all know it's wet.
look what they did when they went in to put those test wells in.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a lot of flack there, you
But
know.
if you go down there now and look around, it's almost invisible. Because they went in with a tracked vehicle. And by the way, did we ever get a report as to those test wells? Who gets those reports? Are they checked periodically?
The test wells, that.
The test wells for any leakage from the transfer station?
Oh, yeah, they're checked all the time.
They are?
Yeah.
And they've never been a
Periodically.
problem?
We get a report, the council gets a report on that.
They do?
The results. So, yeah, they do check them regularly.
Yeah.
And they're required to walk in by foot. Yeah, we get the reports on them.
So,
That's, okay.
I just wonder, Wynn, are you recommending that we get a second opinion at this point in time, or at some future date?
At
when
some
that whole-
future date,
Okay.
I think.
Well,
I mean,
why don't we work on it now? See if we have someone else come in and offer their opinion.
yeah.
Just to back up, I mean, he may come out with the same opinion and
You're
that's
right.
where it'll end.
Yeah.
He may come up with, say, yeah, you know, I think this could be done this way, and like you said. I mean, when I brought that up, or when it was brought up earlier, it wasn't a income-producing idea. It was an idea to keep that area healthy.
Right, both.
And if it pays for itself to do it, better for us.
Right.
So I'm all in favor of getting a second opinion as soon as we can.
Sure.
I'll,
Anybody that would be good at that, or?
I don't.
I know,
I think we would just get someone that's on the list through the UNH, they have that extension service, right? And they have a
Mhm.
list of the certified foresters,
yep.
and have someone local come in.
Yeah, I have a forester that, because I have a tree farm and it has to be checked every year, every 5 years. Recertified, and his name is Charlie Marino, he's
I
up in
was just gonna
Stratford.
say that, yeah.
And I don't know if it's I know he has on his list, he has a number of town woods that he does, but I don't know if his schedule would allow. He's a pretty busy man, but.
Do you want to make the phone call, or would you like
Sure,
me
I'll
to?
call him.
Would you call him and
And if
try to set up something like we did with Ron? If he wants to come here first, or just, he knows the area well enough that he could go out there
Oh, yeah.
and do a quick.
I just go out and meet with him, and
Okay.
maybe Drew want to go too,
Sure.
and just get another
Yeah, second
viewpoint,
opinion.
you know?
Yeah.
Because he's,
I don't know how much they're doing right now, logging-wise, but
Well,
he has 3 or 4 contractors that work for him, and I just don't think it's that big a deal.
Yep.
But maybe it is.
okay, next item, monitoring.
If I can,
Oops.
one last thing on
Okay.
Ron Klamarzik.
Yeah,
He did give us a copy of a forest management plan that he has drafted for the Fry Road Town Forest in Kingston. So we should probably route this through our, just through the commission and look it over. He sent it just as, hey, this is a sample management, forest management report of the type that he drafts that he
Okay.
mentions in his letter. So again,
you want to start it?
something that we should probably all look through and.
Val, do you have time for more reading?
Sure, it's the weekend. Long weekend, right? Hardly.
Maybe. You got a better boss than I do. Did I say that? He doesn't watch this.
You think?
You sure?
I hope.
You've reviewed this?
Okay,
I have not.
that's good. Yeah, just like that, a sign-off sheet. That way we try not to lose it. Monitoring plans for the properties, Wigan Farm and Loisel properties, they are due by the end of the year. And Val, I think, was sent a, oh, where'd it go? I had it right here.
That was forwarded from Ellen,
Ellen
from a
sent
Ray.
you a heads up
Gill.
from, dang.
But it sounds as if she was referencing, or that he has sent, that he has sent something to to the town, because he was talking about what was included in that was a form that had to be completed. So did anything, come to the commission via mail?
I have not received it in my mailbox, but maybe it hasn't made the round yet.
Or I'll call him and
Okay.
inquire on that.
In the past, we have waited until November to do the walk because the ideas of walking through those woods right now with ticks and everything else. Plus, it's usually drier in November. I don't know about this year, but the only thing we have to worry about is, hunting pressures at that time. If you find that, if you will make that call, give me a heads up on it, either over the phone or email, and we'll set up in the past, we've been able to do both properties in one day. I think, George, you worked with me 1 year. Ellen,
You're talking about
just the monitoring walk.
Wigan Farm?
We did the Wigan Farm and the Loisel property in one day.
Yeah, and then
We did.
Val and I and Ellen Snyder did Nostrum.
Nostrum.
And there's a form that
Right.
she had
Right.
that
We have to find that form.
she would know.
Len?
I'll contact him, Ray.
Right. Okay.
Alan would know.
Well, that re-brings up the issue, whether or not we were gonna do an RFP if we were going to retain a consultant to assist us with the monitoring and submission of reports.
Well, depends on how technical it is. What I saw her do wasn't very technical. You could do it, or I could do it, or he could do it.
Right, it was just filling out, check mark, and
Right, why pay
making
anybody?
comments to what we found, if anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
And just a matter of copying it to someone. We have 4 properties that we do. Sneer property, Wigan, Loisel, and
So we should have forms for each one of those
we
properties.
should have, and there's a file downstairs in the cabinet with past reports in them. So if we have any questions,
Right.
we can access that.
Right.
Towards the end of November, or do you want to try to do that this month? I say the end of
It's the
November.
foliage that makes it difficult.
Right.
It's,
so
right,
thick,
that's why if
you
we wait until the end, towards the end of November, we get away
Right.
from a lot of things that,
I'll be available again in the end of November. I'll be happy to go along.
so why don't we do that for the next meeting? We'll set the dates.
So we have 4 to do.
We have 4 to do. I know you can do the 2 big ones in one day, the 2 small ones. I mean, we don't have to do, it doesn't have to be the same people. Wynn and I could do one side, and, Drew and you could do another, or,
Yeah.
even more, we could, we have another member coming on, so we
Yeah.
could each take one.
Land,
and
land
a
survey.
land survey, which will
Right.
actually be a big plus there.
Tell us if we're on the right property or not.
Yeah.
That's always a help. But if we each, have a team of 2, each take one piece of property, we could do it in the morning. And meet, put them together and ship them off to the people that need to be informed. So we'll do that at the next meeting. we'll just set the schedule for that. Want to thank the commission members for their work for the Heritage Festival. I know the weather really sucked, but thanks for filling in. I appreciate it all, what you guys did. And I know the Heritage Festival people did too, so thanks again. I appreciate that. And one more good, did get some rides in, didn't you?
Yeah, 10 Saturday, 5 Sunday.
In the rain.
Yeah, it
Well,
was.
I mean, we really didn't have that much rain, kind of,
Yeah, it
ducked
was
in between it
intermittent.
realistically.
Right.
Tides more than anything.
The tides, yeah, tides are a disturbance.
And Channel 13 was taping on one of the trips, is that correct?
Yeah,
Some
I
kids
think,
were out there.
I think Channel 13 recorded Joe Shanda, well, went on one of the trips and had a little handheld camcorder
Oh,
and
they
was
snuck it
recording,
on.
Yeah.
was recording Joe Shanda.
Wait,
Didn't-
you got on TV.
They didn't tell us it was.
Did you sign a waiver, a release?
Well, and I think Joe Shanda should also be mentioned because
Oh,
he does
absolutely.
an excellent job
Sure does.
narrating the boat tours, and you know,
And Joe was
I for
looking
one
forward to
certainly
it this
appreciate
year.
it.
He came to me and said, "We're gonna do the trip, aren't we?" I said, "Well, we're gonna have a little few changes here, but yes, it's gonna get done."
Can we send
And-
him a formal thank you from the commission?
I think that'd be a great idea, because volunteers in town, be it the commission here, the town council, the planning board, budget committee, they never get enough thank yous, and I think that's a great idea.
Hmm.
Pick up a card, please.
Oh, and also for Pauline.
Yeah, right. We sell any barrels that day?
Haven't heard reports back from that yet.
I don't think we did.
No.
There was interest, you know, some people were looking at them and asking about them. You know, unfortunately for rain barrels, it's
Right.
the wrong time of the year.
And
You know,
people
I'm
did take-
about to
yeah.
disable mine, you know, I mean,
They didn't need them this year, really, so much.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's too much water.
George, did you take mileage? I took mileage for the truck, so,
Don't worry about it. I don't want to be reimbursed for it.
yes.
Hey. Not a problem. It's a nice day.
It was a nice ride up there, right? Okay.
Nice day.
Festival run, new appointments, and earlier, Joe and I, at the town council meeting, we talked about dissolving and combining committees. We haven't brought that up yet, have we?
No, I thought about it, but I was gonna do it under new old business.
Well, beat you to it. I believe the town council would like to clean up some paperwork and make things a little bit more streamlined. And we had talked about in previous meetings about having the open space come in, join with us. Mostly because of manpower, is what we were talking about, more than streamlining anything. Volunteers are hard to come by. We have pretty much the same goals, and that's kind of what I explained to the town council. I would be in favor of doing that. There was a little mix-up with timing. We thought it wasn't until next week, but they called us up, and it was last night's meeting, so I couldn't talk to the commission about that. I thought Jim had pretty much the same views as I did, and Drew, your letter to the council pretty much stated the same.
yeah. I was unable to attend last night due to a different engagement. So
Sure.
I drafted a letter that I sent along saying that I didn't have any objection to the dissolution of the Open Space Commission, which is what would be required based on the resolution that was used to create it.
Right.
And then, folding those responsibilities into the Conservation Commission.
And the tree committee also.
That's correct.
I thought when we started the tree committee that it was a subcommittee of us to begin with, so I didn't think that was a big deal. But we have, 3 or 4 volunteers here. I don't know, you have 5 open space. The tree committee has a few.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And with any committee, the more people you have to do the work, the less work everyone has to do and less chance of them getting burnt out of doing everything. So my thought was, it's a great idea. If anybody else has other thoughts, now's the time to bring them up, I guess.
Was there any, the discussion on name changes?
There was no idea on name changes.
Okay, good.
They didn't.
Thanks for sending that RSA.
Well, yeah, I don't think you can change the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission name.
No, would you want to? I don't.
No, yeah.
Well, that was the town letter, was talking about changing
Well, I
the
think
names
that's-
of the combined committees.
I think that was
I just wanted to make sure the
a
council was
coverall
aware
letter.
not to.
Yeah, I don't think you would change like the
Conservation
planning
Commission.
board if you added something to the planning.
I think that was like
board.
a coverall letter to check, there's a lot of committees out there for the town clock, the park, the Riverwalk. Combining some of these will streamline and
Hopefully increase the.
increase participation from everybody.
Participation. Too many vacancies that have been outstanding for too long.
I gave my support, and I think I mentioned, I really couldn't speak for everyone, but at the time, because of the mess up in the timing.
Well, I'm certainly all for it, and I'm sure the council would be as well. My only thing is the, making anything a subcommittee of the Conservation Commission. You only have to be careful of that in one regard, and that's if you make it a subcommittee, you basically just changing the name's the same, but you still have the same problem, people don't show up. So
Right.
I think part of the reason that the council wanted to do this is so that you kind of reinvigorate something by adding more people. Maybe you weren't originally intending on doing that. Maybe you guys don't want to do trees, but that maybe it's your responsibility. You'll say, okay, well, we can handle that. We can do that, and then it gets done, versus not getting done at all. So, sometimes
Well, to me,
it's kind of a
it's-
shotgun marriage, but maybe it'll work out in the long run.
To me, it's just putting another agenda item,
Well, for instance, I'm partial to the tree committee because I helped start it, but I haven't had a lot of time to do it, to be quite honest with you. I do a lot of other things, and I don't think it would take a lot of our time to address it. So obviously forestry, and we wanted to be a Tree City USA. That's just an application that we have to do. We need to appoint a tree warden for the community, and really that's it. Besides, just keeping an eye out on things and making sure they get done on occasion. I don't think it would take a lot of our time to do that.
No, I don't think it would.
Open space, maybe we'll get a few more members, and we'll have a new charge where we have to look for recreational property. There's $500,000 left in their account, so the original charge of the open space was to seek recreational lands and also
Open space for conservation and
yeah,
recreation.
conserve open space, which they've done successfully.
They
There's
did
not a
a-
lot left on that.
Did a bang-up job of it. I mean,
Yeah.
with a $2 million bonding, they leveraged out about $6 million worth of property.
I guess
A prior conversation amongst the board relative to committees was the idea that if we were going to form a committee under the Conservation Commission, that like a commissioner would really kind of chair that,
Mhm.
but it would be a way to bring other volunteers in that may not be able to serve on the commission because they have conflicts with meeting nights. But like, for instance, the trail group that you put, that came out from Hotel, some of those people may want to be involved, but they can't be a commission member,
Mm.
because they have a conflict.
I know. Though I think the overall management of something could be done by a committee. Maybe we could also still have volunteers and people that want to help. I don't know if that helps. But I mean, you still could have an informal group come along and help with projects,
Oh, sure.
even though we're looking to the management of that project. I think it's just a way for things to get done where they're not getting done.
Well, I think it's a win-win situation.
And I think trees are a large part of our community and should be part of the Conservation Commission, to be quite honest with you. I think, you know, they're out there.
The more
and
people helping
they're
out,
not going away.
the better off we are, so,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's what I said to the town council last night. I'm all for it. I didn't want to talk out of turn, but because of the scheduling problem they had, I thought it would be okay. I knew 3 of us were in favor of it without asking.
How many people are on the Conservation Commission formally? Is it a 7-member?
It's a 7-member, and 1, 2,
So with the addition of Jeff,
6, 7 will be, Jeff will be 7th. We still have room for, and we can.
Alternates?
And 3 alternates?
And 3 alternates. We have room, and we have the right if we want to make it.
Can you
8
make it
or
a
9?
9 or 9-member committee?
I don't think so.
I think we'd have to change.
It's specified under the RSA.
Yeah.
Not that we've ever had the problem to.
Right, according to the RSA, it says the commission shall consist of not less than 3 and no more than 7.
Okay.
Okay, now, does that include representatives from the planning board and town council? Because there's 2 spots that we can,
I guess it
In a
depends.
city that has a planning board, 1 member of the commission may be on the planning board.
okay, that sounds like that's one of the 7.
Yes, it does.
And the town council also has a member. No?
Doesn't say.
Yeah, it doesn't specifically say.
I
Okay.
hazard a guess that I would be considered a member.
You have been sworn in as a member.
Well, this time around?
Ah.
I hope so.
There was a question between you and Val,
Have you, Val, been sworn in this year? I haven't been sworn in since the beginning.
Me either.
Aren't we sworn in, are we sworn in specific to the board that we're on?
Guess we could check into that.
That would be good.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
Okay, so,
I was initially, but
Yeah,
well, when does your term run out?
I don't know.
you have to be sworn in every
We'll
time your
find out.
term runs out.
Okay. Yes, you do. You have to, actually,
A refresh.
you have to refresh it, you have to send in another application.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sure I put in an application. I know I did.
Yeah, I did too.
I just don't think I got a swearing-in ceremony.
So that's probably a good Becky question.
I think
If
that's.
Jim or I need to be sworn in.
Yeah, I think that might happen. I will, I may have to get here early Monday morning. Okay.
So did the town council make any decisions last night? I mean,
No, because of the screw-up, we're gonna wait
Okay.
until the 21st
Okay.
to give everybody a chance to speak.
I mean, ultimately, it's the town council's decision.
Yeah, but we also want to take the, you know, the
Sure,
advice of the
it's good to
committees
get
involved.
inputs.
We're
Sure.
certainly not trying to
Sure, I agree.
force it down their throats. We'd like to.
I think we have a different, I think we have a different town council now that takes advisements. Not sure, but I think so.
See what happens. So,
Okay, I think that's all I have.
basically, we're all in agreement the Open Space Committee would be a good fit, and the Open Space Committee feels the same.
I sent out my letter to all the Open Space Commission members, and the replies that I received were supportive.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think it, at this point, I don't think we need any more
He's working it.
action on this until it comes to that point.
You didn't really have any control over the money. You just advised the council and bonded with the people.
Right, we could negotiate with landowners,
Right.
and ultimately, what we were doing is making a recommendation to the town council.
Right.
And the town council could either accept or reject that
So this
recommendation.
500 that's still left,
That would stay in that fund.
that would be treated the same way. And if there's a piece of land that they decide they want to buy for recreation, or for fields or whatever, where that money's supposed to go, right?
Right.
Then
Well, then it would be us that would decide.
it would be us
Correct.
that would
Is he milled
look
in?
at it and decide whether we recommended that they buy it or not, or negotiate or not, right?
Correct. But ultimately, it's the town council's.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's town bonded funds, and therefore it's ultimately
Right.
the town council's decision.
You guys just advised, I mean,
Correct.
right.
The town council could expend it for a non-recommended expenditure if they so choose.
Right.
I mean,
Because the,
it's within their purview to do so.
Right.
and the vote was not relative to recommendations, or creation and recommendations from an open space commission.
Correct.
So the council doesn't need to come to the commission, even if they
No.
dissolve the open space.
But if someone came to us,
Yeah.
then we can go to the council and say, we have
This
these.
is a good use of the
Right,
funds.
I see.
Okay, great. Moving on. Old business that we need to take care of.
Can I put Heritage Festival again under old business?
You sure can.
If we could discuss for future Heritage Festival, or any festivals that we're participating in, that maybe we don't do the plastic water bottles. It doesn't seem to be very conservation-minded. If we're setting up in the park.
Can
Yeah.
I add
comment
one
on
little
that?
thing to
Sure.
that? Yeah. I would tend to, I mean, I think the idea of providing water is a very good one.
Okay.
Obviously, this year, due to the weather conditions being cool and somewhat overcast, there was not a large demand for water. Unlike in previous years, we have had a large demand.
Right.
So in effect, this year, we had a lot of water bottles that we ended up giving away, I believe, to the Club Chameleon. Right.
Right.
And they were happy to use them. But I would agree with Val's comment that, to me, it seems not in keeping with conservation to be handing out lots of plastic water bottles.
Right.
So, but in keeping with the idea of being able to provide water, I know for example, have one of those big coolers with a spout on the bottom. I mean, maybe next year what we do is bring that down there and have cups or, something like that. But I think the idea of providing water is a good idea.
Okay.
I think it would be good if.
Do
we
it
could
on a different scale.
Do it on a different, right.
Different.
In a way that's more in keeping with conservation.
Maybe we could set up one of the rain barrels with a pump.
You don't need a pump, it comes out of
Don't
the
need a
bottom.
pump, right? It's gravity
Put it up on
fed.
the table.
Do that.
That's actually a very good
That's
idea.
not a bad, right?
That's a good idea.
How about a keg?
Okay.
Shh. The second.
Being televised, Okay, I think that may be a
That's
good
a
idea.
creative, yeah.
Okay.
In line with that whole issue of conservation, it would probably be better to not have animals near the creek. So I think it worked out really well that they were relocated up to the other area.
Okay, I was not there too often much, but the
Well,
petting
it-
zoo?
Right, because what you have is about 25 or 30 animals for a 2-day period right next to a waterway. And in regards to a lot of the wetlands conservation efforts, this whole issue of having, it's a non-point source pollution issue when you have animals next to these waterways. And you're seeing a lot of communities adopt setbacks to have any animal husbandry next to watersheds.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's 365 days a year. We're doing a town festival for 2 days.
But I think
Did they stay down there for the whole
No,
weekend?
they moved them up because, pretty much no one was set up on Sunday.
You have to
And
remember, though,
all I'm saying,
that-
it's a great activity for the kids, but does it make sense to have it on the waterfront?
I don't think the Elm Street parking lot's a long-term option anyways for the festival, because that's eventually gonna be
That's
developed.
going to be used for the...
For the mill
bottles.
parking, so that can't be considered.
The only thing my thought is, it's a 2-day project, they're on asphalt with hay down, and they pick up the hay and take it off with them. I gotta think that that soaks up a lot of the waste.
But this year it rained all night, and so where did it go?
Yeah.
You know, I'm recommending that maybe the position of the commission is that, our recommendation is that the petting zoo is not located adjacent to the waterfront.
They're gonna really hate us.
Yeah.
Good thing the boat rides are free.
Yeah. I just think it's,
Yeah, okay.
and it's
Better
not
off where the
that,
crowd is. I mean,
right, and they should be, where all the
right,
little kids are.
all where the crowd is,
No.
and the crowd's up.
Well, when the parking lot is developed, the festival may move into the downtown, I would imagine, along the sidewalks eventually. I'm not quite sure where it's gonna go, but
And I think we want them there. We certainly want to encourage, you know, the agricultural industry in the state. I think that's, you know, one of our missions as well. But I'm just bringing this up because it is counter to the conservation positions relative to regulations of the state or recommendations for land use planning.
Maybe we should meet with the Heritage Commission, Festival Committee, if they're not going to be swallowed up by another committee. See if there's some, what are they planning for next year? Can we change it? Bring other things down into that section and move the animals up? Is that what you're saying? Let's try that.
I'm just bringing it up as a recommendation.
The car show is a good idea. They could expand on that.
Bring that down into the parking area?
now you have oil and gasoline. So,
Well,
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
It's on the surface, I don't think we
Right.
have to worry too much about that. It's, this year, the rain kind of washed away the waste into the river, I'm sure. It drained right in there. Is it gonna be a problem for a 2-day thing? I guess that's the question. 2-day festival, is that a problem?
well, they ought to be where the
Where the
people
people are.
definitely.
Well, I'd rather talk to the Heritage Festival than the
Right.
local farmer that brought that down.
Anything else on that, Val?
Thank you, then we'll address that.
I had one other thing under old business, Bruce.
Okay.
That was, I went on the Great Bay Boat Tour that was put on by the Piscataqua River Estuaries program. That was on September 12th, I believe it was. It was a boat tour on a research vessel that started out at Newcastle, and we went upriver into the bay and then out to the Jackson Lab, supported by UNH on Adams Point. We got off the boat there. There were 2 people that are working at the estuarine lab there that spoke to us related to stormwater runoff and the overall eelgrass quality in the bay estuary area. And then we sort of looked around at the lab a little bit and then went back on the boat to Newcastle. It was a very nice tour. I personally would have preferred a little more of an educational component while we were on the boat. You know, while we were on the boat, we were basically just discussing between the various people who were on the tour. which was, other Conservation Commission members or other town planning board or aldermen, selectmen, town council type members. So that, that was still a positive interaction, but a little more educational component, I think, would have been nice. But overall, I thought it was a good tour, and if people are interested, I think they're going to offer it again next year, and I would recommend it to anyone who's interested.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
That report back.
I have one thing under old business also. Actually, a couple.
Okay.
As you're probably aware, we gave 50% down to Fences Unlimited to do the fencing at Loisel. So that will be going on in a few weeks. When I was there, I noticed the sign for the property. It's one of our carved signs. Has been placed way out back of the parking lot. And I kind of had a little brainstorm while we were measuring up the fence with the contractor to it's a kind of a grove of Scotch pines as you drive in initially, right beyond the residence's driveway right there. I thought that might be a good place to move the sign down to, because right now if you look from the road, you can't read it, and it's at an odd angle to the road. It's not parallel to the road, so it's almost kind of like if it was moved closer to the road, it would be more apparent, I think. And we
How
have
big is the sign?
Oh, it's probably 8 feet tall and about 4 feet wide, roughly.
The one under the little canopy?
No, that's not the kiosk, but there's
Oh,
actually a
okay.
2-posted sign. It's been there probably since the day one.
It's the carved wooden.
Right.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
we have a similar sign to every property.
That's the one we needed a cap for.
Yes, exactly. So I was wondering if you would be interested in moving that down closer to the road, on alongside the driveway on the left-hand side.
I think,
We have a scrap of land there where it could
Yeah.
go.
I
I'd be
would probably
willing to-
advertise it better, wouldn't it?
You would, because right now you cannot read the sign from the road. It's just too far
Well-
away. And if bringing it down, you could actually read it, and it would call
We
more
put the
attention
sign
to it.
out on the road that George put up.
He does.
And I have that out there.
Yeah.
We were talking about doubling it up.
But it's just a suggestion. It would be easy to do. I could dig 2 holes, move it down to the road, and put it back in. Just while I was there, so that's a thought we could discuss. So I don't know. Before I move on, is that something you would be
Well-
willing to looking at, or willing to look at?
George, last meeting, we talked about doubling up that sign and turning it so it showed from both sides. At the next meeting, I think we said something that we should take care of that. Maybe that's worth a walk down there, but between a few of us to,
Yeah.
instead of doubling up the sign, maybe we should just move that one.
It wouldn't
I
cost us
don't know.
anything.
It
I'd be
wouldn't cost
willing to
anything
move
do
it myself.
Yeah,
Is it in an area where you're thinking of put it, would it infringe on the neighbors?
No. Because our property boundary goes about halfway up his driveway. I guess I would estimate between 40 and 50 feet probably from the edge of our driveway to the property boundary. So if we put it immediately adjacent to the driveway, right near those little Scotch pines,
Mm.
I don't think it would be a problem.
So it would really be more like that it's an entrance sign.
Right. It's making it more of an entrance sign. We
Yeah, I
already
think-
have a kiosk back there with
Right.
information, so I don't know why the sign needs to be there, back there as well. I mean,
I think it's a good
obviously, by
idea.
the time you drive in, you know where
Right.
you should be.
That is a good idea.
Good idea.
Judge?
Good idea. We wouldn't have to spend another $31 to back up that sign at the road.
Okay. Jim, check to make sure we don't need any setbacks or anything on that sign. And if you would just check with the abutters,
I will.
show them where you want to put the sign,
Yeah.
and I'll go down there with you to, if
Take
you
a look.
want.
Yeah,
Just take
that'd be
a
good.
sidewalk.
Well, it'd be nice to get a second opinion. I don't know if Drew, when we were there, did we talk about that?
I don't remember when we did the walk.
No, I think it just came to me as I was there the last time, so.
So you do that, we'll take a walk down there next week,
Sure. Sometime in the afternoon.
Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm around until 5 o'clock.
Ooh, that's not gonna work.
How about Tuesday? I can do it Tuesday.
What time?
I'm off, so yeah, that
Oh,
anytime.
Tuesday.
Tuesday? I'll give you a call. One other thing, I got a quote for the granite fencing at the Shanda Park that we all discussed.
Yep.
It was $1,368. It's 3 7-inch by 7-inch granite posts with black chain to match exactly what we already have.
Okay, say that number again.
That's $1,368.
How many posts?
3
Three posts.
installed with the black chain.
Same thing I'm doing.
Did I send an email out on that?
No. It's granite.
So I don't
So
know if
they'll
you-
match everything that's
Yeah,
there.
it'd be identical to what's there.
Okay, we had talked about that when we did the little walk down to the park, and we all thought it was a pretty good idea. Um,
Once again, I'd have to spend
There's,
50% before they'd set that out.
there's funds in the account for that.
Yes, there are. I think it's approximately.
We don't have that report.
29. Shanda Fund has 2956.
Yep.
What have we allocated, or have we specifically committed a certain dollar amount to Mike Provost and the Riverwalk?
No, we haven't.
We just said, when you was here, that we had,
And if they continue not to show up at the meetings to tell us what they're looking for, they probably won't get any.
Personally, I recommend it only because it's new grass there, and it's going to be one of those places where people will cut
Mhm.
across the grass, and it's just going to wear it out. And before that happens, it'd be nice to put that up.
Okay, so 1368. Do I have a motion to do this?
I'd like to make a motion to expend $1,368 to install the granite fencing at the Shanda Park.
I'll second that motion.
First, Drew. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? Okay, no opposed, all in favor. To spend the $1,368 to install the 3 granite posts with black chain to match what's there. And Jim, I guess you used the same
Same process.
process that we did for the other.
I will.
Okay, sound like a plan.
One last thing.
That's what you said
The
last
picnic tables. I did find a company that makes them cheaper. I think, I wasn't here for the meeting when you discussed it. I think our original quote for 2 picnic tables there was roughly $1,900, something.
It was a lot.
It was, yeah, I was surprised actually myself. There are other companies that obviously make heavy-duty picnic tables. I found one that does ADA compliant picnic tables where, you know, they're wheelchair accessible, which seems better in my opinion. However, they don't make it with a wooden top. The whole thing is made of metal. So it'd be a black metal powder-coated frame with an extruded metal top. Kind of like because of the structure of the table wouldn't work, would not work because it would be unsupported for too great a distance, is what he said. So it would warp or bend.
Okay.
So that's why they have to make it out of metal. So that you can get the chair underneath the table. So, if it's an option that you'd like to pursue, I think I emailed them out, but I can,
Well, I remember hearing that you found another
that was the
supplier.
company. I can
didn't remember
refresh your
seeing
memory
any
by sending
numbers.
it out tonight, the email.
Okay.
And it was cheaper, I think it was in the $600 range. And they come knocked down, you assemble them. I could have them delivered to the DPW, for instance, because
Right.
they need
And then
they
we
need
could-
an address with a truck bay of some sort to unload it. And then I don't think it'd be a big deal to put them together and have them brought down.
I bet between
They're
us,
heavy,
we
they're
could
like 400 pounds apiece.
We might want to assemble them at the park.
true. We could have them delivered.
Although
Maybe
the
the
town has-
DPW could deliver them to the park and we could install them, or whatever. I'm sure we can work that out.
Okay.
Being heavy, I'm hoping that they would stay in place for a while.
Well, I think they'd have to be chained down.
Yeah, we could probably look into that as well. But once again, I can send you the information on that
Yeah.
and see what you think of that.
Okay.
The design. It's probably a little more industrial than I originally intended, but I thought the ADA compliant table would be a better idea.
Well, we know that the ones down there are in pretty sad shape. And it's not like you can go out and put a $100 picnic table up. It won't last.
No.
I think that's pretty much what happened with these. so.
Now, the other thing is we have 2 picnic tables down there. Nothing says we don't that we couldn't put one in
Right.
and just do one table.
We might do another one later.
See how successful it is or
We
whether it
do
even gets
have-
used. Quite honestly, I've never seen anybody really use the picnic tables. I don't know if it's a popular lunch spot or...
Yeah, they're used.
It is.
Is this?
They're
okay.
used.
They're used.
Well, if they're used, then I certainly don't mind
And,
putting 2 in.
yeah, there's nothing worse than going down there and getting splinters from the picnic table.
Well, the ones that are there are failing and before somebody gets hurt or...
Why don't we find out what the new ones cost?
Okay, I'll send that information out
Um,
tonight to you.
And if you want to find out the delivery time, if it's something we could do before winter, or,
Or we could wait till spring, to be honest with you.
well,
They're not out.
I'm all in
winter.
favor of getting it done.
Okay.
My thoughts, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but if you have something, bring up. The idea of getting it done sooner than later. Let you work on that.
I'll get the information for you.
Okay. I think that covered new and old business, didn't it? Any new business?
No permit applications?
No permits. The mailbox was empty this week. Did you have thoughts, planning board?
No, I'm just
I haven't
not
seen
really
anything.
any permits through the planning board either.
Okay, I haven't seen a thing. Okay. It's Tuesday night, do you want to set a time now? Tuesday afternoon?
I'll go by your schedule. Doesn't matter.
I get into town approximately 6 o'clock.
Well, we should probably do it as close to 6 as possible because
Because
it's
it's
getting
starting to
dark
get dark.
now around 6.
So we'll meet at the Loisel property at 6.
Okay.
If anyone else wants some input on that, Jeff, if you want to be there, everyone is welcome to be there at the time. And get that taken care of too.
Need
Anything?
2 caps?
2 caps.
I'll get one.
I have them.
Hmm?
I have them.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And 2 caps and a tube of silicone with let's work done, and we'll put those on at the same time.
Don't forget, we gotta do the roof at that kiosk. I'm embarrassed to say, I should have done that a while back. I'll get that done.
Why do you have to do it?
Because I said I would.
Okay.
I know you have Boy Scout help. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Right.
That was
Delegate authority.
That was the plan.
All right, I'll talk to
Are the shingles in the,
There are no shingles.
We'll
I
need
think that
to,
was the
there's a
issue.
few
We
things
went-
to buy, and I think we approved that at the one meeting,
Yes,
2 meetings
it
ago.
wouldn't take much to do.
it's
It's penny stuff, you know, a bundle of shingles, a little bit of trim.
I think once that fence goes in, I'm gonna have a lot of,
We did check with the butters about the fence, correct?
we did, and, maybe on Tuesday, it wouldn't be a bad idea to knock on the doors and just reiterate, the
Yep.
flags are up where the fencing is going. I think it's gonna look good, it's a nice design.
And they're open, so that's not gonna
It's
block
just
the
a-
view,
it's
because
a
that was part.
rustic 2-rail.
Yeah,
It's
that was
rail
part of
fence.
the
Oh, yeah, there will
bylaws, so
be,
the
there won't be
problem-
any problem with
We need to make sure we do that right.
obliterating sightlines or anything. Oh, and there are also, just as I remember, the stakes that the Doucette survey put in will be replaced with 8-foot tall posts to put the birdhouses on, which have been patiently waiting at my friend's house for several months now that the Boy Scouts, I mean, the Cub Scouts made. They have like 20 birdhouses that we need to deploy this fall, so.
Okay.
Yeah, again, another good thing to get done.
Last, a little bit of new business. Last year, we did a cleanup day with the Boy Scouts. Mothers and fathers showed up also at the Wigan Farm. We cleaned out some invasive species. It may be too late to do that now.
No, I think it was late October when they did it.
Yeah, it was,
It was-
told them.
It was almost around Thanksgiving.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was as late
I
as the 31st.
worry
I think.
about, after hunting season would be good. I really wouldn't, because people use that area and they come in from different areas.
I think, if you'd like, I could mention it to the leader of the Boy Scouts and see if they'd be willing to, I'm sure they'd be willing to do another cleanup day. Okay.
Especially if they get fed again.
Well, that was kind
Yeah,
of a little
food is
bonus.
always a great-
I think that was a bonus, and,
Yeah.
and the way it worked out pretty good, I thought.
And would you want to do the Wigan property again, or do you have another property in mind? Because they did invasive species in particular. Ellen Schneider was along and
Right.
was able to point out.
And maybe we could
I'll
just.
You didn't scratch the surface.
Right, I mean, there's plenty of that
There's
left
more,
too.
let's go back.
So and
It was
Miss
great.
Ellen being on the committee here, but I
Well-
think we have enough there we could clean out what we need to clean up.
Yeah, we did pretty well. I think they had a good time. I think they'd love to do it again.
Okay.
But I can't speak for them. I will bring it to them though.
Okay, I need this. If there's nothing else,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.